Hello, I'm Lorna McLean. I'm a professor in the Faculty of Education at the University of Ottawa, and I'm going to be talking about a research project that I conducted with 2 graduate students who will be speaking later in the video. The initial planning of the project involved the Faculty of Education and Elections Canada and Encounters with Canada. Encounters with Canada is Canada's largest youth leadership and civic engagement forum that's held here in Ottawa. Our contribution to the project was to work with 22 teacher ed candidates to work on 3 lessons that they presented over 9 weeks to the participants of Elections Encounters with Canada. In the end, we worked with almost 1,000 participants at Encounters with Canada. And there were 3 research questions that guided our project. The first one is, what are youth concerned about? Second, how can educators engage youth to address these concerns in a democratic society? And third question is, how did participating in this project influence teacher candidates' understanding of pedagogy and civic engagement? As demonstrated in this demographic image, participants who attended Encounters with Canada each week arrived from provinces and territories across the country, with a high attendance rate from BC and Alberta. The participants ranged in age from 14 to 17, with the majority among the 16 to 17 age range. With regard to language, 30% spoke English and 10% spoke French.
We had a total of 22 teacher candidates participating in this community service learning project. They worked collaboratively in 3 groups to develop 3 unique and interactive civics learning modules to present to the Encounters with Canada youth. They presented the modules 3 times each. After each presentation, they received feedback from the partner organizations in order to improve their module for the next presentation. After each presentation, we invited the teacher candidates to complete an online survey containing Likert scale questions and open-ended reflection questions about their experiences with the project. Our findings from the Likert scale questions indicated that the majority of teacher candidates felt they had gained practical experience in planning and teaching civics. The majority of them also said that they would use these learning modules again in their future classrooms, and about 3/4 of them expressed that they had become more civically engaged as a result of participating in this project. When we analyzed their responses to the reflection questions, we noticed 3 themes recurring. First, at the beginning of the project and throughout the project, only about 1/3 of the teacher candidates felt confident to teach civics. By the end of the project, almost all of them said they had gained increased confidence and a more positive attitude towards teaching civics. Second, about half of the teacher candidates expressed that they were really surprised at how engaged and aware youth already were in social, political, and economic issues, and this really challenged their prior assumptions about youth and youth apathy. And finally, the teacher candidates reported that teaching civics and civics learning could be meaningful if the activities were relevant and hands-on and provided students and youth with enough time to debate and discuss the issues that mattered to them.
After each of the 9 Encounters with Canada sessions, the youth participants were asked to complete a brief paper survey. The survey was really short. It only had 3 open-ended and 1 Likert scale question. And we had around 1,000 people turn in their survey at the end of the session, so we had a really good data pool to work with. One of the survey questions asked youth to list their confidence in discussing issues of concern after having attended the Encounters with Canada session, and the vast majority of respondents indicated that they either agreed or somewhat agreed that the session had made them more comfortable, more confident in addressing these issues of concern, which really speaks to the value of the program and its usefulness in moving forward. So youth were asked to list key themes that they were concerned about in their lives and in the world overall. They listed a huge range of different themes, but several key themes were repeated over and over again. So issues about education came up a lot. Youth were concerned about the cost of university. They were concerned about entrance exams and how they themselves were going to get into university. The second key theme that emerged a lot was about the environment. So youth were really concerned about things like global warming. They were concerned about oil production, so whether that be pipelines or fracking. So those are the type of environmental issues that we saw a lot. We also saw over and over again issues concerning equality raised by youth. So they were concerned about gay rights, women's rights. They were also really concerned about the rights of Indigenous people and how those were respected. So one of the survey questions asked youth if they were now comfortable to go home and address the issues of concern. And many of them responded that while they really wanted to raise these issues, they weren't yet themselves comfortable going home by themselves to raise these issues. So they talked a lot about how having more resources would really help them to go home and to talk about these issues of concern. They wanted things like school groups, community groups of like-minded people to go home and talk about issues with. They also really wanted hard things to take home. So whether that be pamphlets, brochures, hard facts, they thought would help them to better raise these issues. At the end of the survey, youth were asked to provide any suggestions or comments that they had for future sessions. There weren't a lot of suggestions for improvement, but over and over again we saw that participants were writing that they didn't feel that the 90 minutes was enough time for them to research, discuss, and debate their issues. So they really wanted to see more time allotted. And we feel that that really speaks to the validity of the project, that the youth were so engaged that they wanted to spend more time working on their project.
The results of this research speak to 3 findings from the study. The first finding is that youth are interested and concerned about local, national, and international issues. However, they expressed a desire for greater access to school and community resources to support them in taking action to address issues that are important to them. The second finding related to the teacher education candidates' experience. Recent research shows that teachers' conceptions of citizenship influence their learning goals, pedagogical practices, and confidence in teaching citizenship education. With ongoing support and feedback from the research team and our partners, the teacher candidates were able to modify their practices to make the learning more relevant and engaging for the youth. So overall, the research achieved many of the goals that we had set out in the initial research stage of the project. However, there are 2 aspects of the project that we're going to develop further in the second phase. First of all, with regard to the participants from Encounters with Canada, we learned that they have an interest in issues, but they didn't always know where to go to find further information or who to contact. So this time around, we're going to focus on more looking at legislative and electoral processes. Second, with regard to the teacher education candidates, we learned that they develop confidence from participating in the project, but one thing we want to investigate further is how this related to their knowledge development in terms of the legislative and electoral process. Thank you for viewing this video, and if you have any further comments, please contact me. Thank you.